What do you expect to see in the E&S market in 2026? Anything different than what we've seen this year?
I think it's going to be more of the same. We're getting indications from a lot of our domestic carriers that they're willing to, back 4 or 5 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you were looking at 10, 15, 20% increases. And now companies are, the premiums are to a point where they're agreeable to providing credits on renewals. It seems there's more fight for the same business. So carriers realize they have to loosen the reins a little bit. So I think it's going to be more of the same. One of the things Ollie touched on a little bit earlier was valuations. That's still going to be a very important factor in our property market. We've seen values, dramatically increase on everyday risks. I think that's going to have to continue. Insureds are going to have to insure to value. But with that, an added increase in value becomes an increase in premium. But I don't think you're going to see any dramatic changes. I just think it's going to be, kind of status quo, more of the same. A little bit of decreases. Again, if more MGAs pop into the market, that could dictate, a softer market. But I do think you're just going to see a little bit more of the same.
There are always going to be claims. There's always going to be fire claims, water damage claims, property claims, and the cost to adjust those claims and rebuild and get them back to where they were before has increased tremendously, especially since the pandemic. A sheet of plywood before the pandemic used to be $20, then it went up to $100, but now it's back down to $60 or $70. So the actual cost of the claims has increased tremendously. So with every fire or every water damage claim, the cost to repair those is going to increase. So underwriters have to make sure that there is sufficient premium on the books to pay for those claims. Otherwise, their loss ratio is going to be outrageous. So even though there may be some sort of tempering of the rate, there has to be a situation where the reserves are going to be able to sustain the premium that they're taking. So the market may fluctuate tiny, a small amount, or it may plateau or go down a few percent. But as long as the claims are going to happen, there's always going to be that need for premium to make sure that those claims are paid. So in my point of view, I think, as Jim says, it'll be more of the same. But I think with the cost of repairing these structures, I don't think the dips are going to be as large as they have been in the past.
Last but not least, Ollie.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think, 2026 is going to be an interesting marketplace. As I mentioned earlier, I think we're coming off the back of a certain amount of uncertainty from natural catastrophes that have happened. But equally, I mentioned that I do expect to see more capacity coming in the market because of, the healthy pricing that's been out there for the last 2 or 3 years and the results that have been returned. What I don't see changing is that discipline. There will be new startups that come into the market. There'll be capacity coming from other areas that we haven't seen before. But I think ultimately, whatever capacity is out there, some of it will be soaked up by the increased values that we're going to have to see through the inflation. And I think there has been a discipline that's returned to the insurance sector, and I don't think we're quite ready as an industry to say all's good now. We've had one good year. The wind didn't blow in America, so we can take price down. So I think there'll be increased competition for certain business, and you'll see price come off on some of it, but on the whole, I think there'll be a consistency to the insurance pricing that's out there for the next 12 months. It'll be interesting to see what happens through to 2026. But yeah, as I mentioned before, a softening hard market.